Spooky season is upon us, so here's what I've been printing. Actually, here's what my wife's been printing. One of the huge advantages of having a 3D printer is the ability to make things at a moment's notice. But not just the functional stuff, no, for once we're talking specifically about the toys. You know, the little knickknacks, the aesthetic kind of prints. My wife, being an elementary school teacher, is super stoked that we have so many printers kicking around here. And she's happy to use all of my filament printing out these little tiny toys. But additionally, the holidays are a great time for this kind of thing. So I guess this year we're the house that gives out candy and toys. So very quickly today, I want to cover 8 prints inside of 3 categories that you can print in time for trick-or-treaters to come knock on your door. And maybe a bonus 1 or 2 at the end, we'll see. Alright, here we go. Category number 1, Slinkies. For the Slinky category, we've got a few options. First, these ghosts are super cool. Actually, a Slinky print in general is pretty cool. Like, I never would have guessed that this would even work, but here we are. These ghosts, however, they come in a few different sizes. The eyes and the mouth can be colored for an extra dimension of cuteness, and the waste penalty isn't too terrible because it's really a small portion of the model that's being colored. But they work in a single color as well. I printed a few in this Geeetech glow-in-the-dark gradient filament, and they look especially cool. But if you aren't looking for a spooky ghost, you could try out this pumpkin. It works the same as the ghost, but in my experience, it's a little bit more difficult to break apart. Once you do get the layers separated though, I'd recommend working around slowly rather than just pulling and pulling and pulling. Believe me. These pumpkins are super cute as well, but keep in mind, any of these Slinky prints are going to take a while to print. It's basically one big long overhang, and the nozzle's going to be moving super slowly to try and cool that unsupported filament. But it's totally worth it. It's a pretty cool thing. Now let's move on to something a little bit smaller. The mini category is probably my favorite that we're going to talk about today. These are the prints that don't take a lot of filament, and they can be stacked by the billion on a single build plate. That helps especially when we're trying to spread the waste across a bunch of different models on the multicolor ones. My wife began by printing these little pumpkins. They can be a single color, or you can go crazy with a green or brown stem and color in the eyes with black if you want, whatever you feel like doing. I'm not your dad, I won't tell you what to do. One word of caution here though, these are small, so they have a small contact area, so the first layer may not be the most reliable layer. So for that reason, we don't do more than 10 on a build plate. Not anymore, at least. Similarly, the next print is this little mummy here. Again, they're super cute, they're super tiny, so small material investment, pretty big impact. These do better in terms of the contact patch reliability on its first layer, so we stock the plates a little bit more when we're printing these little guys. And finally, this mini bat here. These are a good option to round out the mini category, especially if you're only trying to print each of these in one color and not do a multicolor thing. This offers an easy contrast from the other 2 colors to complete a nice set of 3. Unfortunately, these bats do require support material, but in this case, it kind of provides more build plate adhesion, so you can probably be a bit more heavy-handed stacking these models on the plate. And I guess the supports come off easy enough, so I'll allow it this time. And the last category we're going to talk about are the spinners. These are models that print in 3 separate pieces, the front, the back, and the center. From what I've seen of these, they print pretty well and the fit's pretty reliable. I did find more issues with the pumpkins that I printed, but that may have been a filament issue on my end in terms of fitting the 2 pieces together. But I ended up using this little jewelry hammer to squash everything together and it worked out just fine. Now the ghosts, on the other hand, they can be put together by hand and click in how they're meant to, so I imagine it's just a filament problem, not a model problem. They all spin pretty reliably, and again, you can do single color or multicolor if you really want to jazz it up a little bit. And with so many other model options, it's easy to get a variety of colors inside of one candy bowl if you do just want to do single color prints. I've also been printing out these web spinners to go along with the pumpkin and ghost ones. They've been the most reliable while remaining durable. What I mean by that is there's some other models available in the same pack, like this spider here, but because they've got long, thin legs, they're not super durable and the legs break off pretty easily. And for that reason, I'm not including them on the list, even though I've just mentioned them, so I'm kind of halfway including them on the list. But again, these spider webs have pretty good bed adhesion. We print them 10 at a time and we haven't had any issues. And that's even with the little tiny circle pieces being so small. None of them have come free from the bed, so that's pretty good. I think it's probably because they're not very tall, so you're pretty safe to stack your plate full of these suckers if you just want to batch out a bunch at once. But as a bonus, a 9th print if you've made it this far. I printed this Twizzler Bowl to use as a candy bowl this year. That seems appropriate because candy and all. But scaling it to the largest size that my H2D could accommodate actually makes for a reasonably useful bowl. Like, this thing's pretty good size. It also makes for a bowl that basically uses the entire roll of filament, so keep that in mind if you're going to go this route. I'd recommend using a gradient filament or something if you're looking at doing this kind of thing, but this Overture Gold looks pretty nice anyway. And that's all I have for you. A super quick one to help you get through your Halloween. If you'd like, check out our Patreon. We've got a $2 tier if you want a little bit of extra Keoprint stuff in your life. You also get a discount at the store. That's keoprints.com. You don't need to subscribe to our Patreon to buy stuff at our store. You can just go to keoprints.com and get a shirt, or a hat, or a hoodie. Help us do this full time and bring you more content. All the models we talked about are listed below, so have a look at those if you'd like. Happy Halloween. Bye.